Cancer is an emotive and a frightening term, but there is a lot you can do to reduce your risk. Leading health researcher Dr. Paul Clayton explains.
Well, cancer is a worry. Given the way that we live today, it kills between a third and perhaps a little more than a third of us. It wasn't always thus. We know this from studies of the 19th century medical records, when cancer was relatively rare in a population that lived as long as we do today. About 10% of what we see today. Now what we can do is we can study that environment, how they lived, what they ate, and to see how it protected them, and find ways of taking that protective strategy and shoehorning it into a 21st century lifestyle. So how do you do that? Well, first of all, no smoking of any sort. No to alcoholic spirits, although the lower octane things like beers and wines, probably not such a bad thing. Do better drink those in moderation. I leave it to you to define what moderation is. And increased levels of physical activity, very, very important. Sedentary lifestyle is a risk factor, no doubt about that. So more physical activity. Let's say walking at the very least, 2 to 3 miles every day, taking stairs rather than elevators, all the usual things. And then dietary change. Eschew fast foods. High temperature cooking produces a range of compounds which are pro-inflammatory and, amongst other things, cancer promoting. So traditional cooking methods, stewing, probably the healthiest form of cooking, closely followed by microwaving, which, like stewing, doesn't exceed the boiling point of water, and then increase your intake of anti-inflammatory nutrients. More fruits and vegetables, much more. 10 portions a day gets you up to the levels where we think real chemoprotection starts to kick in.
10 portions of fruit and vegetables a day. Now that is a bit of a stretch, but there are things you can do to make that more realistic. You'll notice too that Dr. Clayton was talking about reducing pro-inflammatory cooking methods. And why the emphasis on inflammation? Well, because the latest research from a host of authorities is that inflammation is an underlying contributor to virtually every chronic disease, from arthritis, diabetes, depression, along with the major killers such as heart disease and stroke, and the connection between inflammation and cancer has now moved to center stage. Now, this type of inflammation is called chronic subclinical inflammation. Chronic means long-term, subclinical means below the threshold where it's easy to identify. And if this type of inflammation is not reduced, it can lead to heart disease, stroke, cancers, and the spread of cancer, dementia, diabetes, sexual dysfunction, osteoporosis, and skin aging. So reducing inflammation is a major contributor to your health. And to help reduce this type of chronic subclinical inflammation, you need high levels of anti-inflammatory nutrients in your diet and indeed supplement. Dr. Clayton makes this important point. If this type of chronic inflammation is allowed to run unchecked, tissues become dysfunctional and then fail, which is basically a description of aging and the mechanics behind dysfunctional cells which lead to cancer. And he then goes on to say, if you're approaching 50 and over, you will have accumulated damage from this type of inflammation. He then finally and importantly says, the aim of your diet must be to create a body environment that is hostile to cancer. So how do you do that?
More polyphenols, which include flavonoids, from fruits and vegetables, and more carotenoids and xanthophylls, also from colored fruits and vegetables. These compounds are important because if you have enough of them in the body, they are instructing any cells which have become cancerous to either switch on the apoptotic sequence, which tells them to commit suicide, or it forces the cancer cells to redifferentiate, that is, to become more like the cells they were before they became cancerous and stop misbehaving. And then there's other compounds in the diet which reduce the risk of metastasis and angiogenesis, the growth of tumors and the spread of cancer.
Now, it's to ensure that you have a high intake of anti-inflammatory nutrients in your diet that Dr. Paul Clayton has produced a cookbook showing you the foods, the recipes, and indeed the cooking methods that are anti-inflammatory. And he's also designed a supplement which is high in anti-inflammatory nutrients, and it's designed from his 30-year analysis of the diets of those people who live the longest and live the healthiest. The supplement is called NutriShield, and it goes well beyond a normal vitamin and mineral supplement. It combines rich levels of vitamins and minerals, essentially to the level of a vegetarian type of diet, with anti-inflammatory and indeed antioxidant nutrients. Now, some of those anti-inflammatory nutrients include flavonoids from green tea, grapeseed extract, and curcumin, powerful anti-inflammatories. It includes soy isoflavones, which many researchers think are associated with the lower rates of cancer in Japan. It includes omega-3 fish oil, again a powerful anti-inflammatory. And it includes carotenoids like lutein and lycopene, which are also being researched for their anti-cancer properties. In short, NutriShield combines the lessons from the latest medical research with the nutrients from the world's healthiest, longest-lived societies. Go to NutriShield.com for more details.